Today we are going to prep for a delightful Mother's Day dinner. We are going to have a cheesy hashbrown casserole for breakfast. Then we're going to go to church. We're going to come home. We're going to have wonderful stuffed zucchini boats with sweet glazed carrots and creamed corn, both made in the crock pot, garlic bread, strawberry spinach salad, and the most delicious icebox cake ever. I think that's all we're going to have. But first, we are going to try out the new candy mode in the Harvest Right freeze dryer. I've been having my freeze dryer for about a year. I've been using it lately to make baby food. One of those videos will be coming soon. But today we're gonna try out the new candy mode because I wanna try to make Skittles for baby G's baby shower. It's gonna take approximately 2.5 hours. That should be perfect if we put it starting now. By the time we're done with all of our Mother's Day prep, they should be ready. So you get to come along. I grabbed the Harvest Right trays. I'm gonna grab some ground meat and we're gonna get started. Yay! I hope this inspires some of you to have a beautiful meal while spending pennies. Just poured Skittles in 3 of the trays. The 4th tray. I'm gonna grab some gloves so I don't touch this with my bare hands since this is for baby G's baby shower. My handy food safety gloves I like so much. Okay, they look pretty full, or they look even anyway. Approximately 3/4 of a pound on each tray. I got this container of Skittles at Sam's and I just divided it evenly among 4 of the medium Harvest Right trays. All right, it says to load the trays into the freeze dryer. Shut the door, close it tight. Then it says to close the drain valve. Now I'm gonna hit continue. There we go. We'll come back in 2.5 hours. Friends, we're gonna go ahead and get the cake in the oven so it'll have time to bake and cool before we icing it. Today I'm gonna make a coconut cake with coconut filling and icing. If you don't like coconut, you can substitute some other type of fruit in the filling and the icing, and then just use a regular cake mix, yellow or white, or any cake mix of your choice. Now, I'm not following the box directions exactly. I'm gonna do the box of cake mix, a half a stick of butter, a cup of milk, and 4 eggs. Now, instead of a cup of plain milk, I have a half a cup of buttermilk, a half a cup of regular milk. I also added a giant spoonful of this organic coconut cream because I had all of this in my pantry. This is not called for. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Sometimes when I make this, I use 7-Up and I don't use milk at all, but today I'm gonna go ahead and do the milk version because I'm making the coconut. This is a cake I like to make several days in advance because it gets better and better the longer it sits in the refrigerator. So I'm just gonna add the coconut cake mix to the butter. To that, I'm gonna go ahead and add milk, buttermilk, coconut cream, and 4 eggs. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up. I just oiled the bottom of my silicone baking pan with just a dab of avocado oil. And now I'm gonna go ahead and separate the batter evenly into these 2 pans. All right, I just emptied the bowl and I wanna show you how thick this cake batter is. This is not like a typical cake batter. It's very airy. I'm gonna spread it out. Now we're gonna do this one. The bowl is empty. The pans are less than halfway full. They're gonna rise some. We're gonna go ahead and get these in the oven. The oven has preheated to 350. We're gonna bake these on the middle rack for 25 minutes so they'll have plenty of time to cool. Moving on to the zucchini boats. We're gonna go ahead and cook this ground meat and get these stuffed so that way we can get them in the oven when the cake comes out. We're gonna use half of this for the zucchini boats and then we're gonna use the other half for the cheesy hashbrown casserole. I had all of this here. The only thing I had to buy was the zucchini. I think it cost like maybe $1.67 for 3 small to medium sized zucchini. We're gonna cut them in half. This will make 6 boats. I just got a cup of rice cooking. You do not have to add rice. You can stuff these with whatever you choose. I'm just gonna show you how I'm doing it today. I stuff them differently every time I make them. I'm just gonna put this ground meat in the pot. I just slice these long ways, so it's gonna give 6 servings. My children are grown, but when they were little, they often wanted to help Dad make something for Mom for Mother's Day. And I'd always try to come up with something that was easy for them to do or something that could be made ahead of time. So that way we can enjoy the holidays. Unless we want to grill outside and be together as we cook. This can be cooked ahead of time and then just heat it up and put under the broiler the day of. So that's what we're gonna do. And this is something that's easy for little ones to do in case your little ones are wanting to do something special for you. You can help them create the stuffing and they can do it themselves. I'm gonna go ahead and use a spoon and scoop out the meat of the zucchini, and then we're gonna add that to the ground meat and brown it. I did 5 of the 6 halves, and I left the 6th one so we could do it together and I could show you. This is so easy for young kids to help with, and it's fun. They feel like they're playing with the food, and then they get to make something special for mom. And then it gives them a greater appreciation for cooking and experimenting in the kitchen and growing food in the garden, because zucchini is something that's so plentiful and so easy to grow. What I do is I score it on the inside before I give it to the little ones, and that way all they have to do is use a spoon, so they don't have to use a knife at all, and they just use a spoon and scoop out the meat. It's like that easy, but it's not easy to do with one hand. And the great thing about it is you can take out as much of the meat or as little as you want. They can't mess it up. And even if they go too fast and they break it, it's still very forgiving. I like this size because it's easy for little hands to use, and it also looks nice on a plate. This is how much meat I got out of 5. I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest of the meat out of this one, and then I'll add it to the pot. This is what they look like after they've all been scooped out. This is what we got. To our ground meat that's browning, I'm gonna go ahead and add the zucchini meat and the mushrooms. We're gonna go ahead and brown it a little bit longer. Now, if you don't want zucchini in your Hashbrown casserole, then you could have just taken part of the ground meat out first. I'm gonna go ahead and cook all of this down, and we're just gonna use half of it in the Hashbrown casserole. Now that it's cooked down just a couple of minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of this tomato. This is similar to like homemade rotel. You don't have to put tomato at all, or you can use any kind of tomato you want. That's probably like 1 small tomato. And I want this pepper. This is like a jalapeno pepper. We like spice. And this is either cayenne pepper or banana pepper. And I'm gonna break this pepper up as it browns. This is what it looks like now. Brown it up some more. Zucchini has a very mild flavor, which is great for kids, for little ones. And if you do have kids who are picky eaters, you don't have to put the meat of the zucchini in here. Cook just the meat and stuff it with just meat and rice and cheese, or you can add beans. You can add whatever your family likes. Personally, I found with my own children when they were little, they were much more likely to try something if they had a hand in making it. And then you can cook this down so fine that they don't even realize it's in here. I'm gonna cook it down a little bit more and show you. This is what it looks like after it's cooked down. The vegetables are soft. Now I need to divide it for the cheesy Hashbrown casserole and for the stuffed boats. The stuffed boats are gonna also have rice in them, and they're not that big. So probably this much meat for each stuffed boat. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out the pot times 6. This is what's left, and this is what we're gonna use for the Hashbrown casserole. I don't want to dirty another bowl, so I think I'm going to use this same pot twice, once with the rice and then again with the egg and the cheese mixture. So I'm going to take this out the pot now. Cheesy Hashbrown casserole and the zucchini boats. Now I'm going to take what's going to go in the zucchini boats and I'm going to put it back in the pot. We're going to add our brown rice. This is 1 cup of cooked brown rice. You can add as little or as much as you like. I'm just gonna start with half of it. The reason I chose to cook brown rice instead of white rice, it takes longer to cook and it's gonna hold up better once it's baked in the oven for another 40 minutes or so. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of this rice because I don't have anything else to use it for. So we are just gonna stuff those boats. I'm making 6 zucchini boats, so this is 1 cup of rice and like a half a pound of ground beef. Let's just say I had 12 boats. I may only use this much meat. Instead of cooking more meat, just add beans. You can also use quinoa. I've done this with rice dressing before. It's really good. This is a cast iron brazier, 3.2 liter or 3.4 quart. It's like an odd shaped, very thin Dutch oven. I picked this up at Aldi after Christmas for maybe $25. And I have to say, I've only cooked in it one time, but I was so impressed. It rivals name brand expensive stuff that I used to have. I'm so thankful that the Lord provided something so cheap that's such great quality. It has the beads under the lid, so it will braise. And I don't want it to braise too much for too long as we cook these zucchini boats. When we cook it today, we're gonna put the lid on it. And then when we store it in the refrigerator until Mother's Day, just some saran wrap over the top. That way, before we leave to go to church on Mother's Day, I'm gonna pull it out of the refrigerator and I'm just gonna let it sit on the stovetop. And then when we get home from church, it's just gonna have to go in the oven just to broil the top and to make it crispy and brown. It's gonna already have been pre-cooked. This could possibly also be made in Crockpot if you have another Crockpot. I do not. This is a pretty dish for a pretty presentation for Mother's Day, and then I won't have to transfer anything. I'm gonna go ahead and find my baster. This is the same baster I used, and I'm not adding any more oil. So there's hardly anything on here. It's just enough. I'm gonna go ahead and position these in here before I fill them, so that way I know how I want them or where I want them. This is what they look like, how I position them before I stuff them. Now I wanna add some dried parsley. This would also be the time where you would add cheese if you wanted to add cheese to this. I think I'm gonna top them with a little bit of cheese before I put them under the broiler on Mother's Day, but I'm not gonna put any cheese in this stuffing. I am gonna put just a little bit of parsley, and I'm using dried parsley. Again, I'm just using what I have. A little bit of dried parsley, and I'm also taking one raw egg, just be a binding agent and help it stick together a little bit as we put it in the boats. We're gonna bake this, so it's fine that you're putting a raw egg in there at this point. If I see for some reason that I need more stuffing, I will put cheese, but I don't think I will. If I had little ones helping me, what I would do is I would let this cool completely, and I would use little spoons, and I would let them come one at a time and fill each one or two. Again, this is so challenging to do this with one hand. I think I'm gonna put the phone down. This is what we have left, so we have plenty. They're gonna be overstuffed. Also, if you have way too much, something else you could do is you could put this at the bottom of the pan and then lay these on top. That would also make a pretty presentation. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to stuff them all in here. So this is what they look like. I used every single grain of rice and every little bit of stuffing, so that worked out perfectly. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the cake out of the oven, and we are gonna put this in the oven with the lid on, and every 5 minutes I'm gonna check it. We're probably gonna cook this about 25 minutes today, and that way it'll only have to go under the broiler for maybe 2 or 3, 5 minutes at the most on Mother's Day. But I don't know how long I wanna keep the lid on, because zucchini has a lot of water in it, and this is a self-basting pan. So I don't want so much liquid in here that it's not gonna keep its shape, but I do want it to be able to cook. So I wanna start it with the lid, and then we'll check it in 5-minute increments. All right, let's get the cake out the oven. That looks nice. It's pulling away from the sides of the pan. We're gonna let those cool. We're gonna keep it on the middle rack just like the cake was. So I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. It's been 5 minutes. Let's see what it looks like. Subscribe! Okay, we can definitely keep the lid on, and we'll go another 5 minutes. It's been another 5 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes total. Let's check what they look like now. We're gonna keep going. Another 5 minutes. They're looking good so far with the lid on. We might be able to keep the lid on the whole time. The goal is to cook them 25 minutes today, and then maybe 5 minutes on Mother's Day. I'm gonna move this dirty pot, and then we are gonna start working on our hash brown cheesy casserole. This is another one of those Crofton 4.6 cast iron French ovens that I picked up at Aldi. It It matches the short round brazier, but this one is an oval shape and it's deeper. Just like a small casserole pan. And I paid $29 for this one. When I got them, I got 2 of each because I lost all of my pots when I lost my home. And I knew it would be good for entertaining. And I was able to get all 4 pots for the price of 1 of my old pots. I've only cooked in them 1 time, but so far I was very impressed. It's deeper than the other one. That's what it looks like with the lid on. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe that down. This is how I store it. I store it in the box. Okay, we are gonna assemble the cheesy hash brown casserole so it can go in the oven when we take the zucchini boats out. We are gonna pre-cook it. That way all we have to do is heat it up Mother's Day morning and we don't have to bake it from scratch, so it won't take as long. The more we do ahead of time, the more we could just relax and enjoy the holiday. So I'm gonna put some avocado oil at the bottom of this pan because the hash browns go first. All right, I'm gonna pour a little bit of avocado oil. I'm gonna kind of be generous because I don't want the hash browns to stick. I'm gonna go all the way up on the sides. I make this a bunch of different ways. There's no right way or wrong way. This is just the way I'm gonna make it today. The first thing we're gonna put is the Idaho spuds, the hash browns. As you can see, I added water and they reconstituted. I'm not sure if there's water at the bottom of this. Once I pour it out in here, if I find it's too moist, I'll use a paper towel or a rag to soak up some of the moisture. Now, one thing that I want to do is I want to add some onion flakes mixed in. It's not necessary. Sometimes I don't do it. I just decided I want to do it, like spur the moment right now. So let me grab that. So 15 minutes, they are cooking just fine with the lid. I'm gonna keep the lid on for the whole time. I'm gonna leave them in another 10 minutes. All right, this is so not necessary. Sometimes I find if there ends up being too much moisture, these onions that are still dry will soak up some of that moisture. And we love onions and garlic. If you don't like it, leave it out. This is probably half of the potatoes. Now I have not put any seasoning in here at all. That's the rest of the potatoes. I'm not gonna use a rag or a paper towel or anything to soak up this extra moisture because I think those onions are gonna absorb it and it's gonna be perfect. What I do wanna do is I wanna grab a spoon or fork. Okay, I grabbed a fork real quick and I wanna push some of the potatoes up along the sides. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm just forming kind of like a crust layer with the potatoes. It's very hard to tell. Okay, so this is the bottom of the potatoes. Comes up probably about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch on the sides. I'm gonna grab one of my gloves. This is half or a little bit more than half of that ground meat with the zucchini and the mushroom and the onion, and it's seasoned really well, which is why I didn't need to add any seasoning. I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna layer it. All right, so now I'm gonna throw my glove away. I used all of this meat, and now you can see that the potato layer or the hash brown layer came up higher. The next thing I'm gonna do is shred this cheese. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use all of this cheese, so I decided to slice the cheese instead of shredding it. I'm not exactly sure how much we'll use, so we'll start with this. I had everything, so I did not have to buy anything to make this dish. You can use any kind of cheese you have, or you can use some cream cheese. I've used cream cheese before. I have a half a block of cream cheese left from what we made earlier, but I think I just might save that for another dish. But you can use anything you have. Taking these slices of cheese and just putting them like this. I think that's enough cheese. For the next layer, we're gonna add egg. I have 8 small eggs here. You can use 5, 6, 8, 12 eggs. There's no right or wrong number. I have 8. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use all 8. All right, let's start with 6. I'm gonna go ahead and whisk these up. I think 6 is gonna be fine. All this is just 6 eggs by themselves. And to that, I wanna add a little bit of mustard. Again, I'm gonna use this spicy brown mustard because that's what I have open from what I used for Easter. Gonna mix that mustard up. I don't always put mustard. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm gonna use some of this carnation milk, pour just a little bit. Now I have about a 1/2 cup left. I like this consistency. So I ended up with about 1.5 cups of eggs altogether. Now again, this is not seasoned because this is seasoned so well. I'm gonna pour on top. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna shred a little bit of cheese so it'll have a prettier presentation on the top. Let's check it now. It's been 25 minutes. Let's give it another 5 minutes and then I will pull it out. I had started to shred the cheese and I tried some small, like some fine shreds, and then I tried some bigger shreds. And as you can see, it looks the same as the hash browns. It was hard for me to tell the difference. So I had a couple of pieces of sliced Gouda, which is a little more yellow. And I just broke it up and I put that on top. That was 7 ounces and I used half of that, so 3.5 ounces. And then this is maybe another ounce. So 4.5 ounces of cheese total. But I mean, you can cover this thing. You can put as much as you want. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this and put it in the oven and bake it like this. And then I'll probably put fresh green onions on it on Mother's Day whenever I put it under the broiler. All right, so this has cooked for 30 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and keep the lid on for probably another 30 minutes or so while the cheesy hash brown casserole is in the oven. It's covered. It's still 350, the temperature, and I'm gonna cook that for 30 minutes as well. And I've checked on this several times. The Skittles have puffed up, but it's still on drying mode. This was supposed to be 2.5 hours, but it's been 4 hours and 15 minutes, and it's still not finished. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, why it's taking so long. I do know that this particular system takes way longer than everybody's recommended time, but it always seems like it takes double the time. So if it's supposed to take 2.5 hours, it may take 5 hours, which, hey, it's still way better than 35 hours. Now we're gonna make the icing for the cake. Cake's been cooling. This is about 2 cups of white sugar. This is approximately 1 cup of sour cream. You can use yogurt or Greek style yogurt if you wanted. I need to grab a spoon. I think that's gonna be good. This is approximately 2 cups of white sugar, 1 cup of sour cream, and however much sweetened extra fancy coconut flake, approximately about 3.5 ounces of shredded coconut. Again, if you do not like coconut, add any fruit of your choice. You could add nuts if you like. This is the only thing I had to buy, 97 cents. I got 2 of them, so $2. We're gonna gently fold in this whipped topping. This is what one looks like. The first one I'll mix in pretty well, and then the second one I'll just very gently fold it in. Now we're going to empty this second one. I'm going to take the cake and I'm going to put the first layer down, put tons of icing. Probably like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'm gonna take the second layer and I'm gonna go ahead and cover it. I probably could have gotten away with just 1 thing of Cool Whip, but I only make this like once a year and it's so good. And we'll eat the rest of this with fruit. I'm gonna grab something to help me coat the sides. Okay, so this is what it looks like right now. I am gonna put fresh strawberries on it on Mother's Day. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the rest of the contents out of this bowl and I'm gonna flip this bowl upside down, and that's how I'm gonna cover this to put it back in the refrigerator until Mother's Day. This is what I have left. So I'm gonna transfer this to another bowl and I'm gonna make a dessert for tonight. So I've emptied the bowl. It's not perfect, it doesn't need to be. All I'm gonna do is flip this bowl on top of this cake. There it is. The bowl fits perfectly. It's just a large Pyrex bowl. This is what I have left. This is a can of just pineapple chunks with the juice. It's just what I had in the pantry. And then I'm gonna add this pistachio with the coconut cream and the sour cream and the whipped cream. This is what it looks like all mixed up. Crushed pineapple goes well in this as well. I just happen to have chunks. You use what you have. It'll taste the same. It just looks a little different. By the way, I save these little containers with the lids. I'm gonna wash them. And then whenever I bring stuff to the neighbors, it's like wonderful containers that you don't have to pay for and you don't have to get them back. It's just wonderful for stuff like that. All right, Let me clean up this mess and then we'll check on the casserole. I just pulled the cheesy hash brown casserole out of the oven and this is what it looks like. I'm gonna let it cool down. Put the lid like that. This has been cooling down for about 30 minutes. Become part of the family, subscribe, thumbs up if you like this video. This is an easy side that I make in the crock pot ahead of time. Sweet glazed carrots. You can use 1 to 3 pounds of carrots. This is approximately 2 pounds of carrots. They're pretty big and fat. You could cut them any way you want, or you can use bagged carrots or baby carrots, 1 to 3 pounds, whatever you have, however many people you're feeding. This is approximately maybe 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, but you could use anywhere from a half a cup all the way to a cup. Just depends on how sweet you want them. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt or 2. Pumpkin pie spice. I use this year round. I think it's easier than having a cabinet full of separate spices. This is like all in one: cinnamon, nutmeg, clove. Just gonna put a couple of sprinkles. I like cayenne in a lot of stuff because we like spice. I like the contrast of the sweet and the spice. So this is 1/4 of a teaspoon. You can leave the cayenne out if you don't like spice. And that's it. We're gonna mix this brown sugar spice mixture with the butter. This is a half a stick of butter. The butter had been sitting out for a few hours, but it still wasn't as soft as I wanted it. So I put it in the microwave for just maybe 10 seconds. And I'm just gonna take these spices and dump and then mix. And you're gonna end up with a butter paste. Give it a little taste and see if you like the spice in it or the spice combination. I think it could use just a touch more pumpkin spice. I want more, so I'm adding more again. And you just use your own taste preferences. Basically, you just made a cinnamon and sugar spread. All right. You're gonna put this aside, cut the carrots however you choose. I'm gonna use this same little spatula with avocado oil that I used to oil the cake pans, and I'm just gonna rub it at the bottom of the crock pot and along the sides. You don't really need much of anything in here because there's a lot of butter in there, and you don't want any extra liquid. The carrots have water in them, and that's gonna give you some liquid. All right, so all I did was use that same spatula and just rub the bottom, and then I cut up the carrots. Again, this is approximately 2 pounds of carrots. I used a crinkle cutter and I just cut them like coins. I'm gonna show you how, one-handed. But they can be any size you want, any shape you want, and then you just take the carrots and put them in the crock pot. And then you take the cinnamon and sugar and you scoop it on top like this. Just looks almost like little balls of cookie dough. And again, there's no exact measurement. You can use as little or as much as you want. I'm gonna get the rest of this in here and then I'll show you what else I'm gonna do. This bowl has been scraped clean. I used this same little spatula with that same little bit of olive oil or avocado oil, whichever you prefer. This was avocado oil. And I used it to grease this glove, only because I'm about to stick my hand in this and I want as little as possible to stick to the glove. I want it to stick to the carrots. So you just take your hand and you just get some of that ooey gooey cinnamon butter all over the carrots. After all the carrots are mixed up and all the carrots are coated, you just throw that glove away and then this is ready. Put the lid upside down and stick it in the refrigerator. Now this can stay in the refrigerator for 1 to 4 days until you're ready to cook it. Right now it's gone in the refrigerator. We're gonna move on. Now we're gonna make some cream corn. And again, we're gonna prep this and it's gonna sit in the refrigerator for 1 to 3 days before you're ready to actually cook it. This time we are gonna put about a tablespoon of melted butter in the bottom of the crock pot. And then I'm gonna use this same little brush, just coat the sides really well and the bottom. Now, as you can see, this has much more oil in it with a tablespoon of butter. You can adjust this to however much or however little you want to make. This is just how I'm choosing to make it today. I'm using 2 cans of drained corn. We're just gonna put it in there. This is what I'm choosing to season with. About a tablespoon of my homemade Cajun seasoning. And then to that, I'm gonna add a small pinch of salt, a small pinch of brown sugar, just a little touch of garlic powder, a little touch of extra cayenne. We're gonna add a little bit of dried parsley, like that. The last two things we're gonna add, 1/4 to 1/2 can of evaporated milk. I'm not exactly sure how much I'm gonna add yet. And 1/2 block of softened cream cheese. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the cream cheese in first. I'm gonna use a glove, kind of like I did with the carrots. And I'm gonna coat the corn really well with this cream cheese. And then I'm gonna decide how much milk I wanna add. All right, so I have a glove that's been greased. And now I'm gonna use it and I'm just gonna massage this cheese, cream cheese, into this corn. Don't want to squeeze too hard because you don't want to turn the corn to mush. You just want to gently massage and break it up. You can add cheese to this if you want a cheesy corn. You can add some meat to this and make like a casserole, but this is a perfect size for any occasion or just a weeknight meal. So now you can see what it looks like before we add any milk. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of milk and then we'll figure out together how much we added. I shook it really well and we're gonna add just a little bit. Like this, maybe 1/3 or 1/4 of the can. You don't want too much because then you have to try to thicken it later. But you want just enough so that as the cream cheese melts, it's gonna be the right consistency. And we're gonna go ahead and use the rest of this can of evaporated milk in our Hashbrown Casserole so it won't go to waste, because I know not everyone uses evaporated milk every day. All right, so this is what it looks like, just enough so it won't stick at the bottom. You have to remember that whenever you cook anything in a crock pot, you want enough liquid so that it doesn't burn, but you have to take into account that the food has liquid in it. You know, corn already has water in it, and that's gonna come out as it cooks. And because you're keeping the lid closed the whole time, it's not evaporating. That's why you don't need to add so much liquid when you cook things in the crock pot. All right, so I am going to get this off the spoon and then wipe the edges because I made a mess. I went ahead and wiped off the edges, and I'm gonna take my lid and I'm gonna put it upside down. And this is ready to go in the refrigerator until you're ready to cook. Now that I know it's on extra dry time, we can go ahead and stop it, hit cancel. 6 hours and 53 minutes. This is supposed to be a 2.5 hour thing. They look really good though. They look just like whenever I've made them and they took 35 hours. We have Freeze Dried Skittles for Baby G's baby shower. Yay! This is gonna be breakfast. This is what it looks like. It's been pre-cooked. I have 2 green onions. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these up and put it on top. And then I'm gonna put this under the broiler for 5 or 6 minutes to get it just a golden color. Okay, this is what it looks like now that we've cut the green onions. We're gonna leave the lid off and we're gonna put it in the oven under broil for 3 to 8 minutes. This is the cheesy hash brown casserole straight out of the oven. Okay, this is what it looks like on the inside. This is what's been plated up for my husband. You can see all the different layers. Let's take a taste. Oh, that's so good. A perfect savory breakfast. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Pulled the carrots out of the refrigerator. That's what they look like. And I'm gonna cook them on low for 6 hours. And I am gonna put the corn, this is what it looks like, on warm for 6 hours. That way they'll be ready at the same time. This is already soft. They're raw, so they have to cook, but they've been covered in that brown sugar and cinnamon, cayenne for a long time. So we're gonna cook those on low for 6 hours and this on warm for 6 hours. For the salad, this is the bronze lettuce that I have in my green stalk vertical planter. I just picked some, washed it. A couple of strawberries I just picked. I'm keeping it very simple. This is a purple onion that I had in the refrigerator. If I'm gonna use it several days in a row, I just stick it in one of those little bags. I'm telling you, those little bags are just perfect. You get like 500 in a box and they last so long, and I use them for so many things in the kitchen. This is some aged balsamic dressing that I got at Aldi for like $2 and something cents. This is actually my husband's favorite dressing, store-bought. He does like the one that I make, but if we do use some from the store, this is his favorite one. That's why I'm going to use that one today with this salad. And this is something that I get at Costco. One bag probably lasts us a year. It's just organic salad toppers, and it usually goes on sale for like, I don't know, I'll wait until it's on clearance. Everything I buy is on clearance, and then I just keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer, and it lasts a really long time. So basically this salad is going to be free. Green stalk vertical planter, already had this, and I'm just going to add these things. This is garlic bread that I had got on clearance at Kroger for $1.37. So I'm going to go ahead and put this under the broiler whenever I put the other things under the broiler, and I'm going to put this salad together. This is what the salad looks like. I just wanted to show you how simple it is. It's delicious. When you pull the cake out of the refrigerator, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and remove the bowl. Yummy. This is so delicious. This is what the pudding looks like after it's thickened up. This is great. Let's see what the carrots look like. They smell delicious. There's so much liquid in them. If you wanted to thicken this up, you could with a little bit of cornstarch. I think they're gonna be fine just the way they are. Boy, look at how delicious. They're so moist and tender. I taste one. They're really, really hot. I can't put that in my mouth, it's too hot. But I'll fix a plate in a minute and then you can see. But boy, that smells and looks delicious. Now we're gonna look at the corn. The corn appears to be a little dry, but it's gonna be perfect. We mix it up. I personally would not want my corn runnier than this. If you do, you could add a little bit of milk. This is gonna be just perfect. I did not stick to the bottom, did not stick to the sides. All the cream cheese is melted. This is what it looks like with the cheese on it before it's gonna go in the oven under the broiler for 3 to 8 minutes. It's been in the oven for about 4 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. This is what they look like. I'm gonna go ahead and plate it up. This is everything plated up. I taste this. It's wonderful. I specifically wanted this a little bit on the dry side because I knew there would be a lot of moisture in the carrots and the corn, and I knew the flavors would complement each other well. I'm gonna taste the corn. Delicious. These carrots. It's all delicious. I hope you enjoy. Have a very blessed, happy Mother's Day. If you make any of these dishes with your kids for Mother's Day, let me know in the comments down below which was your favorite. What's gonna become a new holiday staple. Have a beautiful Mother's Day. Until next time, bye.